Hi, everybody. This is Symphonic Elk, and I am coming at you with a 1987 baseball Topps box break. So I have a wax box here. I bought it from a local store. So here's the thing with all of this old wax, junk wax. Um, there's always a chance that some of this has been searched and resealed. I hope that is not the case, but I guess we'll find out as we go. So as you can see, the box was $25, 40 cents a pack. The cards that I'm looking for are going to be cards like Greg Maddux rookie card, Bo Jackson. There's a Barry Bonds card in there, etc. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, it is taped, so I need to find my scissors. Okay, so you can see what the packs look like. I'm going to start with the top left quadrant. So yeah, these cards do come with gum that is super old. So let's get started. See what we can get. All right. So actually, the gum for gum that is 32 years old looks fairly appealing. Hey, Joker, how's it going? All right, so let's see. So, Fever Baseball. I don't think that this is probably going to be a winner, given that this was for a trip in 1988. So I'll try to mention any good cards that I pull. Tony Pena, he was a good player back in the day. Expos. It's not something you see too often anymore. Although the Expos are technically, I guess, in the World Series. Against the Houston Astros, so that kind of worked out. So this gum is stuck to the pack. All right. So it's a Blue Jays leader card. Tony Bernazard, because he was an all-star back in the day. It always amazes me. Players back in the 80s and the 70s looked much older than they do today. Bruce Sutter, he's a good player. Here we go. Lenny Dykstra. As I have probably mentioned in the past, in about, I don't know, the early aughts, the Mad Money guy who's on, like, I don't know, one of the money channels said that Lenny Dykstra is an amazing stock analyst. Of course, he's now in jail, or what may have just gotten out. Darryl Strawberry, good card. Hal McRae, remember him. What year is this? This. I think Jose. I mean, I know Jose Canseco's in this year, but I don't know if it's his actual rookie card. I apologize. I am new to this whole breaking thing, so the camera angle is kind of terrible. Dave Winfield, great player. Bud Black was a good player, good manager. That name is awesome. Kanglasi. Kelly Gruber. rip. All right. Oh, Ryan Sandberg, he's a Hall of Famer. Brett Saberhagen, great pitcher. Mike Maddox, that's Greg Maddox's older brother. Unfortunately, I want Greg and not Mike. So part of the reason for doing this, other than just for fun, is, to try to get some of these older rookie cards and send them to PSA or Beckett to get graded, since they're in theory pack fresh. But we'll see. So we have Gary Templeton, Otis Nixon, famous for stealing bases, especially for the Braves. Kent Hrbek, he was the first baseman for the Twins when the Otis Nixon-led Braves played them in the World Series. Danny Tartabull, a good player. So far, nothing. Hey, Rayman. Vita Blue is good. Terry Pendleton, 1992 NL MVP. Also part of that Braves team that was really good. Dave Righetti, all-star card. Steve Carlton, great pitcher. All right, we have Mark Langston. He was a serviceable pitcher in the 80s. Carlton Fisk, Hall of Famer. Frank Viola, he was a good pitcher. John Franco, I remember when he pitched for the Mets. A good reliever for them, if I remember correctly. Granted, I'm old, so maybe I won't or don't remember correctly. Here's a not a great card, but a great player. Ozzie Smith, one of the best defensive shortstops of all time. One of the best shortstops of all time. Brett Butler was a good player. Wally Joyner had a decent enough career. Jim Fregosi. Dave Parker was a good player. Don Mattingly, my personal opinion, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, but he's not. Always felt bad for him because he's one of the great Yankees with no World Series wins. You want the gum, Raymond? Yeah, no, I don't know that I'm gonna eat any of that. Yeah, but I always felt bad for him because I think he retired in 1995, and then they immediately won the World Series almost a year or so after he retired. And I think if he had been part of that team, he would have probably made it into the Hall of Fame. But now he is a manager for the Marlins, maybe. I don't remember. Yeah, things in the the top left quadrant do not look good. Willie McGee is a good player. Tony Gwynn, definitely died too soon. Great player, great coach for San Diego State. It's one of his early cards. All right, next is the top right quadrant. running out of place to put these wrappers with the gum. So here we go. Jose Canseco. So Joker, there's the Canseco that you were talking about. I don't, again, believe it's his rookie card. I'm sorry that it's not. The glare. Haven't figured out a good place to record this. So anyway, glad to have that card. Andres Galarraga, the big cat, great player. Hit a lot of home runs. Dale Murphy, another one of those players like Don Mattingly, kind of retired before the Braves got to be good, but he was a great player. What year is this? This is 1987. All right. Whenever I see Cecil Cooper, I think about Cecil Fielder. Not the same person. Eric Davis was a really good player for the Reds back when they had some good teams in the late 80s, early 90s. I used to really love the Pirates caps. Sorry about that. That's my phone. Call them back later. Ricky Henderson when he was on the Yankees. Great player. I think an underrated player for as many. I think he has 3,000 hits. He's obviously the stolen base leader for all time, and I don't think that record will ever be broken. Here's a Mike Smith, another player that I think may be somewhat underrated, just because he played on all those Phillies teams. Although he did win a championship, I guess, in like the early 80s. Maybe they just played against the Orioles and didn't win. I know that they played them and didn't win. I don't know. You may not have a World Series. Yeah. It's looking just kind of sad. Lots of faux wood, but nothing good. Not that I expected to really get anything good out of this, but, you know, you can always hope for something. Lots of players that I've never heard of, like Richard Dotson, Lee Mazzilli, Gary Carter, All-Star. He's a Hall of Famer, great player. Another player, or I should just say person, who died before his time. It's a shame. But that happens sometimes, sadly. So, as I said earlier, you have to worry about these boxes being searched. Not so much people searching them today because they're just not worth it, but searching them back in the day, like in the 80s. I don't know that this has been searched. I mean, most top sets have about 800, a little less, 700 and something cards. So getting any one card is, can be difficult. If I'm not answering your questions and you're asking anything specific, all right, here we go. This is a Barry Bonds. I think it's not the rookie that most people want, but definitely a cool card. Like I said, if I'm not answering your questions, I have my computer off to the side. I was trying to figure out how to set this up so that it didn't look terrible. Wade Boggs All-Star card, and it does look terrible, but I managed to set it up in a way that I can't see what y'all are saying without turning my head. So here we go. Here's a Dwight Gooden card. Love Dwight Gooden in the '80s. So like he came along when I was like 4 or 5. I think most of you know that I grew up in Georgia, but I was actually born in New York. Even though my dad was a huge Yankees fan and I'm a Yankees fan now, in the '80s the Mets were great, and the '86 World Series champs, and I love Darryl Strawberry, Dwight Gooden. It's a shame that substance abuse. Dwight Evans, good player for the hated Red Sox. It's a shame that substance abuse actually for both Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden really kind of ruined their careers. I think Darryl Strawberry's kind of gotten his act together, but I know Dwight Gooden, or at least had been, suffering, some. He's fallen back, into drugs sometimes. Fernando Valenzuela. I'm not going to even try to pronounce it. Running out of getting dry mouth. So great pitcher, great rookie year. She's a good pitcher, great rookie year. Tony Gwynn, amazing player. Denny Martinez was a great pitcher. Gary Carter, we saw his All-Star card earlier. Hall of Famer. Vince Coleman, really great at stealing bases. I think he got in some kind of accident or in trouble for something to do with fireworks. Like, I don't know if it like blew up in his hand or he shot them at somebody or what happened. Looks like there's a John Kruk on the back. I always pretty sure it was John Kruk. There was a story back in the '80s about him where I guess he was in a bar and he was drinking and smoking, and someone came up to him and said, how can you treat your body that way? You're an athlete. And he looked at them and he said, I'm not an athlete. I'm a baseball player. And I always thought that was hilarious. Keith Hernandez, most famous, I think, now for his appearance on Seinfeld. Oral Hershiser, great player, had an amazing streak of like 30-something plus innings without giving up a run. There's the John Kruk. He's on the Padres back then, but I guess he's most famous for his time with the Phillies. Kirk Gibson, famous for his home run in the '88 World Series. Barry Larkin, I think this might be his rookie card. And definitely an underrated player, but is a Hall of Famer. Checklist, and Ken Howell. All right. Dave Parker All-Star card. Tony La Russa, great manager for the A's and for the Cardinals. Jim Rice is a Hall of Famer, great player. George Brett, Hall of Famer, great player. Goose Gossage, also great player. Also, I'm pretty sure a Hall of Famer. So that's it for the right top quadrant. So we're going to the left bottom quadrant. Yeah, boxes of baseball cards used to come up with a lot of packs and a lot of cards. Nowadays, I don't think that they do. I think essentially some of these are just one pack, maybe even one card for the entire box. So pretty crazy. We got Dave Henderson. He was a good player. Harold Reynolds. He's a great player. Most famous, I think, now for being an analyst on. He started out on ESPN. I think he's an analyst now for MLB TV. Mike Smith All-Star card. Mitch Williams. I believe it's the same Mitch Williams that pitched for the Phillies. Pete Rose is the manager of the Reds. This was, I guess, a year or so before he got banned for life for betting on baseball. He's also the hits leader, the all-time hits leader. Charlie Hustle was his nickname. Rick Sutcliffe, great player. Don Mattingly, All-Star. Kirby. But I guess I heard not too long ago that he was not that great of a person in person. You know, he seemed so lovable. And maybe that's not true. I don't know. But he, another player that died before his time, Tony Gwynn. Great player. Thanks, Joker. Yeah, I believe you are correct. It's hard for me to remember because there's a lot of like this tops traded and Fleer update sets and things from back in the day. And so here we have a Roger Clemens 86 breaker, great player, PED user. So I think eventually he will get into the Hall of Fame, but it's just it's too soon to all the nonsense that went down. All right, here we go. So this is a Bo Jackson rookie card, Future Star. I had this card when I was a kid. It is an amazing card. I love the picture on it. It's not his most sought after rookie. I think it's maybe like 3 or 4 down on the list, but I do think that it's a really cool card. Mike Bielecki, he was good. Dennis Oil Can Boy, famous more for his name than his playing ability. All right. Let me get that out of the way. Earl Weaver, famous manager for the Orioles. He's famous for getting tossed out of games. Jamie Moyer pitched till he was like 48. Got close to 300 wins just because he pitched for so long, but I don't think he ever got there. Eddie Murray, Hall of Famer, great player. Oh, here we go. Here's a Kirby Puckett. This great player, died before his time. Which is Mookie Wilson, also good player. All right. Let's see what we got. Pretty sure my son is upstairs yelling for me. We'll see. Turn Back the Clock, Roberto Clemente. It's a shame that it wasn't an actual Roberto Clemente card. Amazing player. Died too soon. Amazing person, apparently. Was really big into giving back to his home country, which I believe is Puerto Rico. Dave Magadan. Funny story about him. So I was leaving a game in I think it was '88. He was the third baseman for the Mets at the time. And so we were going to where the players come out of the locker rooms and everything to go to their cars to try to get some rookies, or not rookies, some autographs. And I kind of got between him and I guess his car. And I was at the time, if it was '88, I was 8 years old, and he told me to get my ass out of the way. So that was I learned a new word that day. Well, I probably didn't learn a new word, but I definitely learned that not all players are always nice. Now, he could have just been having a bad day. Who knows? All right, I'm going to try to go through this a little bit more quickly. We've got Phil Niekro, Hall of Famer. Look how old he is. Amazing that he was still playing back then. Tom Seaver, also an amazing Hall of Famer. Here we go. Roger Clemens card. It's not like it's his rookie, but still pretty cool. Yastrzemski turn back the time. David Kingman, he was a good player, not a great one. Ray Knight. Yep, that is my son. So I am going to, I guess, sign off. And yeah, thanks for watching. All right, goodbye. I got to go see what he wants. Thanks. Bye.